Welcome to the Disney Parks Podcast with your hosts, Tony Casanova from DisneyByTheNumbers.com and Krista Joy from DisneyWays.com. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast at all times. And get ready for the Disney Parks Podcast.
Our guest today fell in love with the Walt Disney Company when he first walked down Main Street when he was only 4 years old. And now he runs DisneyDose.com and the Disney Dose podcast. He recently interviewed Joe Rohde as well as some other Disney celebrities. And Gavin, we just want to welcome you to the show.
Well, thank you, Krista, for having me here today. And hello, Tony.
Welcome. So you have a podcast, Disney Dose podcast, and you had on Joe Rohde. Can you just don't tell us a whole lot about it because everybody should go listen to it, but just tell us a little bit about how that came about and what you guys kind of chit-chatted about.
Well, I can set the scene. It was last year at the media preview event for the D23 Expo in the Disney Parks and Imagineering Pavilion. And I was so lucky to start talking to what turned out to be Joe Rohde's personal assistant. And that's not her title, but her title is portfolio manager for the Joe Rohde portfolio, which includes Animal Kingdom and the Aulani. And my dad and I were actually there. My dad started talking to this person, and they had a great conversation and just hit it off. And then I came over and right before that, I had actually been talking to Michael Colglazier, who's the president of Disneyland Resort. So I was thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to this person who there's Michael Colglazier. I'm going to go talk to him. So I almost missed the opportunity, but my dad just said, no, I'm going to stay over here and keep talking. I'll be over there in 1 second. So what ended up happening was I came over, talked to them. We spent the entire night I talked to Michael Colglazier and he talked to her, and we just talked the entire time without even looking at the exhibit. And so I was kind of like, oh, it's been kind of this night, kind of a waste of time, right? But it turned out that I got to meet Joe Rohde later that weekend after staying connected. And then this summer, I sent my pretty good friend now, an email saying, is there any time I can interview Joe just out of the blue? I'm not thinking anything would happen. She said, sure, we're out of the country all of July. We're gone. We're researching and there's no way to do it then. There's a week window. Can you come down are you around? I said, actually, I'm down seeing the new Club 33 at the beginning of August. Are you around this Friday? Well, yes, you can have 35 minutes with him. I said, okay, I'm taking that 35 minutes. Wow. So that led to a visit to Imagineering and an interview with Joe Rohde.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. That's a great story.
It was a pretty incredible story, yes, and a pretty amazing that it worked out. And after that much time, we were still connected, and I got to talk to him.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I say that all the time. Well, I say it a lot to Krista. You never know who you're going to bump into, and if you bump into them, just start talking because they're just normal people. We think of them as these great, and powerful, figures in our heads and stuff, but, they're just, normal people that just, want to talk about what they do because they love what they do and we love what they do. So. Yeah.
Right. Well, and the biggest thing what I found is not to not talk about Disneyland and not talk about Disney, but to connect with them on a different level and become friends, not just this person who's idolizing them, because idols don't really want to hang out with people who they're like fanboys. They want to hang out with their friends who are also a 49ers fan or whatever, connect with sports. I mean, that's how I've gotten to know so many great people, or connect with where you live or where you grew up. That's actually why I got to talk to both Adam Jacobs, who's the star of Aladdin, playing Aladdin, and Jason Rowe Eichelhart. Adam grew up in...
Skype's making this little blue... To see the little bubbles? I wonder if it's trying to connect.
So, and recently I actually got to interview James Monroe Iglehart, who just won a Tony for playing Genie on Broadway, and Adam Jacobs, who just is playing Aladdin in Aladdin on Broadway. And the reason I got to do that was because Adam Jacobs went to my high school, and James Monroe Iglehart grew up in the Bay Area in San Francisco, where I live. And so we just connected on that level and got to talking, and then I got an interview. So they're real people, and that's my favorite part of getting to know these celebrities, as you said in the intro.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And now I also know that you are an author. Can you tell us about your book, Disneyland Secrets, A Grand Tour of Disneyland's Hidden Details?
Well, I would love to. So my ebook can be found on our website at disneydose.com. What it's about is a collection of the little tidbits and facts from each land, featuring the different stories that I've heard, the different little hidden details that I've seen in the parks and found out the stories behind them. For example, you'll see in the main entrance to Disneyland, there are actually old French cannons in the main entrance area right there in Town Square. People are, why are there cannons in Town Square? Well, actually, they were used by the French Army, and Disney bought them from the French Army to put in to make it feel like an army was there, like it was an old Midwestern town, kind of right after the Civil War. So these are real cannons sitting in Town Square, and that was just something I had heard from a cast member in past. After a while, I heard so many of these stories like this that I just decided to put them all together.
Wow. I don't think I know that there were cannons on Main Street there.
Yes, surrounding the flagpole there. They're all stuffed up, of course, but and painted over. But there are real cannons right there.
Yeah.
From the 1800s.
Yeah. That's a good book. I think I'd like to take that. Is it like something you should take in the park with you, and then you can kind of point out these things by area? I guess Fantasyland, Tomorrowland.
Well, it's great to do that, but also the other thing that comes with the book is there's a scavenger hunt to do with your family to try and find some of these secrets to discover, like find a hidden Mickey, get a certain amount of points, and then you kind of compete throughout the day to see if you can beat your score or do it day to day. But it's a great scavenger hunt that we've put together that you can read and use in the parks, and it's so much fun to do.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, I am always interested in the little hidden gems that always get overlooked. Even as people that live here in Orlando, me and Krista, and go to the park quite often, we're still discovering these crazy things that Imagineers have done, or where this came from, or this artifact here. So I really dig that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and that's like one of the reasons that I love Disneyland so much, and I can just keep going back, and there's always something new.
Yeah.
Something that I found out right before we wrote the book was there's actually a doll in It's a Small World meant to look like Mary Blair, who's the artist who helped to create It's a Small World.
Wow.
And she's up on the Eiffel Tower in It's a Small World, and there's a little doll wearing a poncho and a yellow poncho and has blonde hair and blue eyes, and that's supposed to look like Mary Blair, the creator of the attraction, and that doll is dedicated to her.
That is fantastic. Yeah.
And it's just little things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. I love, Gavin, that your podcast, he opens every show with one of his little secrets from his book, which I love. It's really cool. It makes each episode unique in its own way. And I know you cover some opening announcements and then you go into the interview. It's just a great show. Everybody needs to check it out. I'm going to put a link in the show notes for you so you can listen to that. And you're fairly new. You don't have a whole lot of shows posted yet, and you've gotten these awesome interviews, so I'm excited. I can't wait to see what else you do.
Well, thank you. We're fairly new to the podcasting sphere, but I've definitely been. I've had the website for 5 years now. I've built up the relationships. So I don't think if I jumped off the edge right now, I could and start over, I could do it as well. But because of all the relationships that I've made and the people I've gotten to know, I have gotten to put out some pretty fun shows.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Now, I hear your beloved Disneyland has a great new character, Oswald.
Yes, Oswald did just debut over in Disney California Adventure, fittingly right across the street from the gas station Oswald's, which was opened when Buena Vista Street opened in 2012. And people thought, oh, like it's just a tribute. Like, no, he's never going to come out here. But back this spring, Oswald debuted in Tokyo Disney Sea, and then still everyone was saying, oh no, he's never going to come out here. Like, of course, Tokyo gets all the good stuff. And then we heard rumblings, and he came, and now Oswald is in the parks. And of course, he came back into Disney's possession from Universal in 2010. He's back, and he's in the parks and meeting and greeting with guests, and it's lots of fun.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to come here to Florida because I think that was probably one of the best things that Iger has done in his tenure is get back Oswald, and the whole reimagined Disney's California Adventure I just love. I think it's been the best thing they've done in that park in a really long time. So Krista was just there for her first visit this summer.
So, Gavin, we understand you got a new character in the parks here recently. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, well, out in Disneyland, they got Oswald, which, as everyone probably has heard about and knows, was Walt Disney's very first animated character. And he's finally in the parks meeting and greeting.
Yeah, I remember he debuted in Tokyo, and there was a big, everybody was real excited about the news, and we never thought he would be here. And now he's over at California Adventure, right?
Yes, everyone thought it was never going to happen, and everyone thought, oh, it'll just stay in Tokyo because Tokyo always has the best stuff. But now he's come in, and slowly and kind of secretly, Duffy the Disney Bear has been phased out. So
is that right?
He is now no longer in Paradise Pier, and all his clothing and dolls and stuff have been getting less and less and less.
Oh, thank God.
I know. So we have Oswald instead of Duffy, which is just, that made my year. The whole OSHA safety stuff doesn't even bother me anymore now that we have Oswald.
It would make my millennium if they just get rid of it. I am not sold on the bear. The bear to me was just a marketing device used to sell more bears and more bear clothing. It had nothing, to me, had nothing to do. I don't even believe his background story. So if they're gonna,
yeah.
Go ahead.
He was launched at Tokyo Disney Sea, super popular over there. So and it made total sense and it was actually stuff that we had called for and have continued to call for in the parks, which is more original new characters like Figment or Dreamfinder, made specifically for the parks. And the reason he debuted in Tokyo Disney Sea was Mickey the Sea Captain would go off on voyages, and Minnie had made him a doll to keep with him so that he always knew that she loved him as he was sailing around the world. So it was a character that fit in with the Tokyo Disney Sea area and park, but then bringing it to the States, I think, was the mistake.
Yeah. And, the other thing, when I went to the marketing preview for Duffy, and when the woman was showing me, Mickey all over the place, on his feet, on his butt, on his head, I was like, yeah. Come on, really? I don't think Mickey wants his face on Duffy's butt, Yeah. Or on Duffy's feet, or on Duffy's face. You know? Mickey wants his face on his face. Yeah. So if they bring him down here and bring Oswald to Walt Disney World and out goes the bear, no love lost for me. I'm fine with that.
And then maybe you'd finally get the masks back in the World Showcase.
Yeah. There's a lot of places I'd like to see some cool things replace Duffy. Yeah.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah, and now Krista was saying, too, you were mentioning that Oswald is a little short.
Well,
yeah,
Oswald, Oswald was actually started and designed was Walt Disney's very first animated character when he got out to Hollywood. Right around 1923, after he was finishing up the Alice comedies, he created a short animated film starring Oswald for the distributor Charles Mintz. And he was the distributor for Universal, and they were going to run this Oswald cartoon in front of all their big movies, and they did around the country. And he was so popular that Walt Disney wanted more money, of course. So he heads back to New York, where he, by train, gets back to New York, where he is promptly fired. Many of his animating staff is hired away, and that everyone thinks is just going to be the end of Walt Disney. But on the way home, on that train ride, he draws the big circle and the little circle and the other little circle that becomes Mickey Mouse. So out of the ashes of Oswald kind of grows Mickey Mouse, and there's actually a very famous telegram that Walt Disney sent to Roy, who was still in Los Angeles, saying, "We lost Oswald, but it's okay because I've got Mickey Mouse."
Wow.
Yeah. Have you heard the controversial story, Gavin? The kids that go to University of Central Florida, apparently they take a class where they're taught that Walt did not invent Mickey Mouse. Are you aware of this other side of the story?
And what is their side of the story? I'd love to hear it.
I don't know. But I've had more than one very...
Do you work for University of Florida now? I have to go take the class and go to college there.
Yeah, I need to check back in with these people that have said it, because it happened more than once. As I thought, oh, that's ridiculous. Why would they teach you that? And then another kid said it to me. So I'm just wondering what the other side... There must be a other side of the story someone has somewhere, but it sounds like what you're talking about is very close to maybe the story that they're going to tell in the new Walt Before Mickey movie. Have you heard about that?
I have heard there have been a lot of Walt Disney movies coming out. As Dreamers Do, there's the Marceline documentary, and then the Walt Before Mickey. Yeah, so there's a great group of films that are all following Saving Mr. Banks last year.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about Walt Before Mickey. I think it's going to be a great movie. It looks very serious. Like they just recently released the trailer. I don't know if you saw it, but it's very dramatic, what I've seen in the trailer. Did you see it yet?
I'm kind of confusing them all, actually. And there's so many coming out that I'm kind of mixing them up in my head. I think I have seen them. Yeah.
As Dreamers Do, I think, was already out in theaters, and now it's on DVD. But this one is Walt Before Mickey's. It hasn't been in theaters yet. It's brand new. So, now, I understand, too, that you have some really great tips for visiting Disneyland at Christmas time. Can you share some of those tips for us? Like, I've only been once in my life and hope and dream to go back at Christmas time. And then there's other people that maybe get to go at Christmas time every year. But can you tell us your tips? Because I know you are a seasoned Disneyland professional.
Well, I would go farther than to say a seasoned Disneyland professional. I grew up for the first couple of years, my yearly visit was only at Christmas time. So I think I'm a seasoned Disneyland professional who can do...
Specializes in Christmas. Yeah.
Who specializes in Christmas.
Yes. Yeah, so talk about that. What are some tips that you have for us on that?
Well, I can't really speak to the crowds too much because the reason that we go in December and for the Christmas season is because my birthday is on December 31st. So we're there for New Year's every single year, and which is incredible. And the reason I love it so much is they have the whole New Year's festivities where the whole park is packed to capacity, like gates are closed. People everywhere. It's crazy in there, but there's so much fun and happiness happening around you that it doesn't even matter that the lines are hours long. But there are three really big things that happen in Christmas. The reason I love it so much. And there are three different attraction overlays, and one's a parade. they have the Haunted Mansion overlay, which becomes the Nightmare Before Christmas version of the mansion, and Jack Skellington moves in, which actually runs all the way through October, as well as November and the beginning of January. So it's kind of, because Nightmare Before Christmas has Christmas and Halloween, they use it as a way to have almost 1/3 of the whole year. You see the Haunted Mansion is Christmas and Halloween themed with Nightmare Before Christmas. And then there's the It's a Small World holiday, which is such a fun show. They take all the current dolls and all the current sets in It's a Small World and add more and more and more. So the rooms are exploding with Christmas, and with Christmas music is blended in with It's a Small World, and a lot of jingle bells and Feliz Navidad, and at the beginning there's Santa Claus. Just a fantastic ride, and it just makes that even more celebrating. That last scene of It's a Small World where everyone's wearing white, they add a beautiful picture of the peace on earth. And it really unifies the whole theme of Christmas and the theme of coming together as a world. It fits really well as the Christmas season for It's a Small World holiday. And third, my favorite part of Christmas holiday is A Christmas Fantasy Parade. And the reason I love this so much, I can't even explain and put it into words. It was the first Disneyland parade I ever saw. And on top of that, it has every character in their Christmas outfits, and they're wearing their hats, and the show has evolved over the years. But on top of all that is this song. I'm sure everyone has heard it go, da, 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 and it gets stuck in my head. Now I'm going to be singing it for the next 24 hours. Thanks for having me sing that for you. But it's magical, and that is just the the crown jewel to the Christmas time experience for me. Yeah. And then, of course, there's so many other little things, so much special entertainment. There's the bell ringers who are in downtown Disney, the Grand Californian, Disneyland Hotel and Paradise Pier, a whole group of a cappella singers who go around with bells, singing Christmas carols and caroling in all the on-property hotels. And then, of course, there's I'm looking at our article on the website right now to refresh me for the tips. They actually have a real Christmas tree in Town Square, or for many years they did. They, in fact, really recently they just made it fake, because the story is that the tree caught on fire one year on Main Street. So they have this amazing, super tall tree, but then it caught on fire, and now they have to use a fake one.
Wow. Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago they decided to start using an artificial one, and I always ask myself, that's probably the only real Christmas tree left in any Disney place, and I was wondering why they, decided to get rid of it and put in an artificial
caught on
tree.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's great.
Well, what's not artificial is inside the Haunted Mansion holiday. They have a real gingerbread house that's made by the cooks and culinary artists at the Disneyland Resort, and it's this huge gingerbread house made out of real gingerbread. You could go down there and take a bite out of it if you wanted to.
Wow. Yeah, a bunch of friends of mine here, we've been talking about it now for months. We should, we all want to go see Disneyland. We know what Walt Disney World looks like at Christmas time, but we all want to go to Disneyland one year for Christmas, and maybe not exactly Christmas week, but somewhere when it's all decked out in Christmas spirit, and see what it all looks like.
Well, my recommendation for the best time to go if you want to see it is the first 2 weeks of December, when people are still in school,
right.
Going like that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the first or second week. You'll have very light crowds in the morning, at least, all the way up until right after work gets out. But then that's always true. Disneyland doesn't have an off-season anymore. Since Cars Land opened, since Buena Vista Street opened, there is no off-season.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, the crowds. So I think in that respect, the best time to go is get there in the morning, experience it, and then have a good time. Blend in with the crowds. There's crowds. No big deal. Just focus on the music, focus on the attractions, dance with the parade. Just have a good time. And it's magical. It's the happiest place on earth. You don't need to get to every single ride. Just experience the Disneyland Christmas experience and let the Disney crowd control take care of you.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Disneyland, you guys do the attraction overlays, the Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World, and other things. And here in Florida, we don't do any of that because for you guys, it's a local attraction loved by the locals. And for us, it's this destination that they have to kind of keep everything the same because people are coming from all over the world to go
for once in their life.
Yeah, for once in their life, and to have the Haunted Mansion with Christmas lights would probably drive everybody crazy.
Sure.
It's bad enough for 3 months we have a crane behind Cinderella Castle putting up the lights that everybody curses. But
that's crazy. I think that's crazy that's up there.
Yeah.
But
it is. It should only be at night. When the park closes, you bring out the crane, you start putting up the lights, and then you have to take the crane down during the day. That would be me if I was running Disneyland. I'm not, or Disney World. So we have to live with this crane, and you have to Photoshop out when you get home. But
I'm quite surprised that they don't do that actually.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to, and in recent years, they just, I don't know, somebody said, just leave it there, it's too much trouble. And I believe it's because of the whole Fantasyland expansion. They really don't have a good way now of getting it in and out, backstage and on stage. And I just think it's just become such a hassle that they just go, leave it. We don't have time to get it in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just paying their life's money to come see this. Who cares? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly. Now, the other thing, too, in Disneyland is your candlelight processional is done, if I'm not mistaken, in the front of the park.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it is 2 nights a year.
Yeah.
It's just going to be one weekend this year. A couple of years ago, they tested it out and did for a while. Had everything set up for most of December, had all the way from the beginning of December through almost up to Christmas. They did it every weekend.
Right.
But the problem was they had these huge stanchions set up for the choral people, and it just created too much of a bottleneck right there.
Yeah.
And it actually reduced the amount that people spent on the stores on Main Street.
Wow.
Spent in the Emporium. So you don't reduce the amount of money people spend in the Emporium. That's never happening again.
No.
So, yeah, not good. So they have reverted back to the tradition of having it 2 nights a year, and an amazing experience. But I don't see it happening for a while, for the entire month, for a while now.
If they would ever change that, I think if they did it in the promenade between Disneyland and California Adventure, that would be a great place to do it. But that also, too, may cause a little bit of a bottleneck if they have to rope off, a large area for that. But I get it. Here in Epcot, we have it, I don't know, it's like from November to January.
Yeah. Neil Patrick Harris does 20 nights or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Feels like he's there for the entire year, just down there saying the story of Jesus. Yes.
Yeah. And a lot, I would assume, and this is just my assumption, that a lot of these people come back year after year because they really get a free Disney vacation. I'm sure Disney puts them up, feeds them, clothes them, gives them park tickets, So, hey, I would do it too if Disney would offer that to me. So.
Well, I'm really good friends with another podcast called the Coaster Radio Podcast, which has been around for years. The official announcer for them is Neil Patrick Harris. So they have a great episode with him talking about how they're put up during the time that he's presenting as the candlelight processional host. VIP everything, and backstage here and backstage there, and the best out in the Animal Kingdom Lodge, and
right.
Sure, I'll be a celebrity and host it for you, but I don't think they want me. I think they want Neil Patrick Harris.
and unfortunately, he's a tough act to go see during the Candlelight Processional, because people wait in line for hours to go see him. And I really don't understand why, because you could be standing in the back and you can still see him and you can still hear him, and people just they have to be up front, right there, seat number 1, dead center.
It is madness wherever he goes. We were actually up in New York just to see Newsies on Broadway right before it closed, and just to tour New York, just up there having a good time. And we were walking by when Neil Patrick Harris walked out of the stage door for Hedwig and the Hairy Inch, and the crowd surrounding him is incredible. Like, people, barricades everywhere on both sides of the streets, and crazy security people yelling at everyone, and it was just a nightmare. I actually ran up and said, "Neil, I hear you every single week on Coaster Radio." And then he turned over and looked at me and said, "Oh, keep listening." So I've interacted with Neil Patrick Harris, which is pretty fun.
Well, that's what I'll say when he's at Epcot. Coaster Radio!
Yeah.
I'll be like, who's that crazy dude in the back?
Yeah.
Security!
But he'll hear you.
Yeah, exactly. Because
when was the last time someone said that to him? Everyone just says, "How I Met Your Mother."
Yeah. Hey, yeah, right. All right, Krista, any more good stuff?
Yeah, well, Gavin, I was hoping you would just share with everybody where we can find you on the web and keep up with the latest that you've got going on. I know Disney Dose has been around for many years, but the podcast is new, and you're constantly posting new information. So I know everybody's going to want to keep up with that. Where are you on the web?
Well, the easiest is just to head over to DisneyDose.com. That's like a dose of Disney, DOSE.com. And you can find everything from there. The podcast, our Facebook page where we post multiple times a day, sharing the latest secrets and information. And then also, if you're on Instagram, follow us at Disney Dose Podcast. That's not really linked on the website, so that's why I share that separately. But I'd love to see you over there. And most notably, I highly suggest you sign up for our Disneyland newsletter for information about Disneyland, Disneyland secrets, updates on when we get great interviews like Joe Rohde. You can find that at DisneyDose.com/newsletter. I think that's everything.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the show today. We enjoyed talking with you, and we look forward to having you back again soon.
So it was really my pleasure. I'd love to come back sometime.
And thank you, everybody, for listening in. We'll see you in the parks.
The Disney Parks Podcast is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. All Disney parks, attractions, lands, shows, event names, etc. are registered trademarks of the Walt Disney Company.
Like a boat out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through. One you wish upon a star, your dream